Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I did do this video last year, so do not get confused. This is the 2024 edition of the mid-year book tag. I love doing these videos because, especially in the middle of the year and the end of the year, because it sort of allows you to reflect on your reading experience of the year. But the mid-year one is especially good because it allows you to hold yourself accountable and sort of see where you're at with your reading. Am I on track? Am I reading exactly what I want to be reading this year? Have I got any good reads? Is there any books that I didn't like? And if those are the cases, what can we do about it? What can we change about it? Do I like where I'm at right now? That kind of thing. And I think it's fun. So the mid-year book tag has been floating around for quite a few years now actually, and it basically is a set of questions which I have written down on my phone, and I've answered them all with a book that correlates best with those questions. But I'm going to get right to it with the best book that I've read so far in 2024. Now, I don't think this will come to much surprise to any of you when I say that Magnolia Park's The Long Way Home is my favourite book so far of 2024. I believe I read this book in January, and I might be wrong, it could have been early Feb, potentially Jan. But I always tell people that the first Magnolia Parks book, or just Magnolia Parks in general, is my favourite book. But every time I tell someone that, this one comes to mind and this one I picture. And obviously there's many people that don't like the first Magnolia Parks book. And I always say to them, read this one, because if you don't get the answers that you want from the first book, this is where they're at. Everything you need to know from the first book that doesn't really get resolved or anything like that is in here. Like, it's amazing, it's incredible, it's a masterpiece, and I think I would actually sell my soul to read it for the first time again. There's something about these books that just make my heart so happy. Even though they're actually quite sad books, I don't actually know where that comes from, but I love it, and they are my favourite books in the world. I really do toy, and it fully depends on the day, whether Magnolia Park's the first one or if The Long Way Home is my favourite book. That definitely does compete in my mind, but for this one it's easy because I read the first one last year, so if I'm going by this year, this is definitely my favourite read so far. But we will see whether I like the first or second one the most when I finally make that decision. But today's not that day. We are just going to put it in the back of my mind right now. But this, amazing, my favourite read of the year so far. Question number 2 is the best sequel that I've read so far in 2024. This one I am a little bit iffy with, simply because it's not necessarily a sequel. I was really finding it hard to answer this question because I didn't really know. I haven't really read many sequels this year, to be honest. And if I did, I don't consider them that memorable, or I didn't like them, or they just wasn't really up there for me. However, I thought this one did fit the bill a little bit, and that is Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. Now, the reason I said I was a little bit iffy with this answer is because it's not, as I said, necessarily a sequel, but it is set in the same world as a book that I'd already read before. So if you don't know, this book is set in the same world as Part of Your World and Yours Truly, and then there's another one called Just for the Summer, which is a fairly new release. The second that I read Part of Your World back in August last year, I instantly fell in love with Abby Jimenez. It was my first ever Abby Jimenez book, and this was my first read of the year, and it was a 5-star. So I love this book. Literally, there's probably not been a day go by that I haven't thought about it. It's just, I don't even know what it is about this book that just made it a 5-star for me, but I just absolutely loved it. And when I consider it as a book, I do consider it as the sequel to Part of Your World, even though it can be read as a standalone. I don't know if that's a little bit of a stretch or if I've answered that incorrectly, but this is probably the best book that I could come up with for that question. But I absolutely adored this. But if you've seen these books floating around, then definitely this is your sign to pick them up and give them a read, because they're just amazing. They're easy but still focus on some quite difficult topics, but in such a light-hearted and fun way. I don't know, just the way Abby Jimenez just writes is just insane, and I can't wait to read the rest of her books, because I think there's like 3 I haven't read yet, so that's exciting. That's the best thing about discovering a new author that you like, because you can go back and read everything else. Question number 3 is a new release that I haven't read yet but I want to. Now, this one was a little bit iffy again because I feel like I've read a lot of new releases this year already. I had Wild Love by Elsie Silver, read that. Happily Never After by Lynn Painter, read that. Funny Story by Emily Henry, I'm currently reading as I'm filming this, so I haven't really got too much of an opinion on that yet, but obviously I'm currently reading it. So if I hadn't read that yet, that would be my answer, Funny Story by Emily Henry. However, another new release that came out this year was The Rulebook by Sarah Adams, and I feel like this is a good one for this question because I am definitely hit or miss with Sarah Adams. I loved When in Rome, I loved Practice Makes Perfect, that's my favourite book by her, but I didn't really like The Cheat Sheet very much. But obviously this is like the book that's connected to it. I'm not sure if it's a series or if it's like set in the same world kind of thing, but this is the closest thing to The Cheat Sheet, so I'm not actually too sure if I'm going to like this one. one. So when the question came up of a new release that you want to get to, I did instantly think of this because I've heard great things about it, but I'm also intrigued to see what I think about it because Sarah Adams literally has been hit or miss for me. The next question is the most anticipated release for the second half of the year. Now, I didn't really have to think about this one very much at all. My most anticipated read for the rest of the year is most certainly Daydream by Hannah Grace. I read Icebreaker in my first 24-hour readathon. I read I read Wildfire back I think in October last year, something along that time, and I absolutely love that world. The Maple Hills series has they're just so easy, they're so just nice to read. I can't even think of like the words to describe them because they're nothing crazy. They're not masterpieces. They literally are just a great fun time. There's always just something behind the characters that you want to get invested in. You're always rooting for the couple, and I've always been excited for Daydream, so I can't wait for that to come out. I think that comes out in August. But yeah, definitely comes out in August sometime, and I can't wait to read it. The next question is, what was your biggest surprise? So to me, I take this as, I won't lie to you guys, my camera did die in the middle of filming that, so we're going to carry on from where we left off, which is the biggest surprise. I take this question as something that you didn't really have as high hopes for, but something that pleasantly surprised you, basically. And the first thing that I thought of actually was Night Shift by Annie Crown. Now, this didn't necessarily pleasantly surprise me in a sense that I wouldn't think that I'd like it because it's a basketball romance. Hello. Something about basketball romances means that I'm going to love them. However, the author surprised me. From what I know, this is like a debut novel. It was posted on Wattpad at first and then it got published into a real book. So that sense of it made it surprise me a lot because I just didn't know what the writing was going to be like when I went into it, and that does sound very stereotypical of me. It makes me sound like I'm judging Wattpad authors, which is not the case. However, there is that negative stereotype of Wattpad style books where they're just sort of written by teenagers that don't really know what they're doing and stuff like that, and obviously this has been edited and all of that stuff when it got published, but obviously in that sense it just meant that I didn't really know what I was getting into because it was a Wattpad book. I don't even know why I'm doing that because it literally is a Wattpad book, but I loved it and I really like this author, and I've actually found out that there is going to be more books in this universe, in this series, which is great, which means I'm looking forward to those. But yeah, this actual book didn't pleasantly surprise me because I thought I would like it. I just wasn't really sure on the author, the writing and like stuff like that, but yeah, really good, liked it. The next question is a favourite new author of yours, either debut author or new to you. Obviously I could have used this for this one simply because I just spoke about being a new author. This was like a debut novel. However, there are some authors that aren't necessarily debut but are new to me that I have read some of their books recently. Firstly, I want to speak about Stephanie Archer. We have Behind the Net and The Fake Out. I read both of these books to do my video where Ellen picked the books I read for a week. This was a 5-star, this was a 4.75. I loved them and I definitely want to go back and read anything that Stephanie Archer writes because I just love the writing style. I love the way she wrote the books and I love the characters too. She's obviously not necessarily a new author, but she was new to me this year. I've actually got two answers for this question. Another one is Catherine Center. I've recently read The Bodyguard by her and I'm not going to say too much because you will see me read it in a video coming very soon, and obviously I can't really judge it simply because I've only read one book by the author. I might read another one and not really like it very much, but from what I read of her, I really did enjoy the writing. I loved the way she told the story. So you will see my thoughts in a vlog. So I'm not going to say anything else, but I really liked Catherine Center as well. Again, not a new author, but new to me. The next question is, who is your fictional crush? There is only one answer for this question, and that is Ryan Shea from The Right Move. This is the second book in the Windy City series, and I feel like Ryan Shea is just the perfect answer for this because he really does represent my fiance in real life. Ryan Shea and Riley, my fiance, are very similar, not only because of the basketball thing, but also because the acts of service, the emotional feelings that they feel, the way they are, the funniness, the dedication to the sport that they do, and just stuff like that. I really did see Riley within Ryan Shea, and I know that he's a well-loved character in the book community. So when I fell in love with him, I was like, this is why. He's very much like Riley in real life. So this is the perfect answer for this question. Ryan Shea, everyone. A round of applause, if you will. Anyway, a book that made me cry. Now, I don't really want to say too much about this book because you will see it in a vlog soon. I actually vlogged myself reading this book back in end of January, and then I thought I'd lost the footage and then I found it again. So I'm now going to pick up that video from where I left off, and it should be posted in the next month or so potentially, but that is Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. This book made me sob. It made me have all the feels, and I know that I have already sort of spoken about it in my January wrap up, I want to say, but I again won't say too much because there is a vlog coming. I can't believe I thought I lost the footage and then I found it, so there you go. Stay tuned. The next question is a book that made you happy. So the first one that I thought of was Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. So obviously this is the second Abby Jimenez book in this challenge, in this tag, and also from the same universe as well. So this is the third one in the universe that I was talking about earlier, and for some reason it just gave me happy vibes. As I said before, Abby Jimenez does talk about quite hard topics, but in such a light-hearted way. I feel like I'm just going to repeat whatever I said from yours truly, so I'm trying not to do that for you. This book was just pure vibes, exactly what you want from a book, and I actually did read this majority on my Kindle and then still went out and bought the physical copy because it's just beautiful, and I just love Abby Jimenez and I need more books by her immediately. Obviously, as I said, I've still got some to read, but this was so good and it just made me happy. It made me smile. I loved it. It made me giggle. I love the main characters and I want to be back in this world. So I need a fourth book. That is what I need. The next question is, what is the most beautiful book you've bought so far this year or received? I really wasn't sure what to put for this prompt because, as I said, I've got loads of book covers that I just love. But the first one that came to mind when I really sat and thought about it was Powerful by Lauren Roberts. Now, I haven't even read Powerless. It is in the works. I'm planning on reading it very, very soon. But when you look at it, obviously this question could be interpreted different ways. It could be beautiful as in writing. It could be beautiful as in content. But I'm using it as a visual sense as to the prettiest book. Now, you might be thinking, this isn't anything that crazy. The cover, yes, it's nice, but it's not necessarily beautiful. But I got the sprayed edge edition, and I just want you to appreciate the sprayed edges on this book. Like, look at that. That is beautiful. I don't care what anyone says. That is adorably beautiful. It just looks very, very nice. As I said before, I haven't even started this universe. I haven't started the series. I haven't even touched it. And the next one's coming out very, very soon. But I thought it was pretty. And the final question is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? So I don't really know if there's any specific books that I need to read. Because I do it video by video, it is a little bit harder. I've got books that I need to read for different reasons, whether that's me personally reading, whether it's reading for a video, whether it's reading for any other reason, if it's an arc coming out, for example, or if I got sent a book. I've got many, many books that I need to read, so I can't necessarily answer that as a specific book, but there are lots coming. Obviously, because I couldn't really answer that one, I wanted to sort of speak about some of my goals for the rest of the year, and there's nothing crazy. One of my reading goals at the start of the year was to delve into different genres, and I feel like I did start off the year doing that very, very well. I started off the year reading Yours Truly, and then I read the first Naturals book, and then I finished the ACOTAR series. So that's 3 genres in my first couple of books, and I feel like that was really, really working well for me. I was less likely to get into a reading slump because I was just constantly switching it up, and I feel like I have let that slip quite a bit in the last few months or so. I've sort of just been reading romance, which again it's my most read genre. I love it so much. It is my favourite, but I am finding myself getting a little bit slumpy more often now because I'm not switching it up. So that's definitely a goal for the rest of the year. I feel like I do tend to read more fantasy and thriller towards the end of the year anyway, because it's just the vibes. The minute September hits, I am in downtown girl, full 2022 mode, and I go instantly into my thrillers and my fantasies, which is obviously the goal. Spring and summer just tend to be like a romancy season for me, but I do want to keep switching it up. And another thing that I really need to knuckle down on is stop scrolling. I need to start disciplining myself to read more. Not only that, it also makes it harder to get videos done for you guys. Like, as much as reading is meant to be fun and it shouldn't just be for the videos, when I think of it like that and I'm like, right, I need to get this video done, it does motivate me to just sit and read the book. But like, I'm reading Funny Story right now and I'm loving the book, to be honest with you, but I haven't had the motivation to pick it up all day because I've just wanted to scroll through my phone. And I did my swapping screen time with reading time video, I think it was about August last year, and I really, really liked that because I was just off my phone, I read, I still had time to go on my phone, 100%, but I feel like I'm going to set myself a goal where I have to read at least 50 pages a day for the rest of the year, which doesn't sound like that much, and to some people that might sound a lot, I don't know. I was going to do 100, but it depends on the time, depends on if I've gone to work that day. I obviously work Monday to Friday as well, so it is a little bit more difficult, but I feel like 50 pages a day will still allow me to get books done for videos, it will still allow me to get invested into the story, and it will also allow me to fall asleep nicer. I just feel like I've gone into a bit of a life funk recently, to be honest with you. Like, I'm not going to go too much into it, but I feel like everything's just up in the air. I've just come back off of a summer holiday. As I'm filming this now, I literally got back yesterday. Like, this time yesterday I was on a plane, and there is a vacay vlog coming. I will tell you that now. But I just feel like I've got into a little bit of a funk. I've found it a lot easier to scroll through my phone than read, and I just need to discipline myself, basically. And that is the main goal for the rest of the year, which obviously does not mean force myself to read, but it kind of does in a sense. But that is everything for today's video. Apologies for my camera dying halfway through filming it. I will get better on that for the rest of the year as well. But I love you guys lots, and I will see you in my next one, hopefully. Love you guys lots. Bye!